Hello everyone, welcome to The Green Man. I hope you're all doing good and well. So in continuing the album, that series with its fourth episode this Sunday, I'm talking about the album that had me curious a long time before I heard it. And I could almost rename the episode to the album cover art that had me curious a long time before I heard it. Or before I heard the album. So let's go back to like 1998, 1999. I'm about 13, 14 years of age, wandering into the record store. And something I'd always notice was this really striking album cover, like almost asking me to grab and buy the album every time I walked in. I was always noticing it, and it stuck with me over the years that this was something that my gut was telling me I'd really like, but I don't know if it was because I was short of pocket money or because at that point I hadn't learned that I had a real taste for metal. This was the late 90s, so if you watch my last episode, it was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory that actually was the album in the end that really got me into metal. But this album cover had me so curious. I was like, what is this? So the album cover was it was an electric chair with lightning going through it. Right, so you might have already twigged the album I'm talking about. And apparently, the title of this album as well was taken from Stephen King's The Stand novel, which I had no idea about until looking that up in preparation for doing this video, which I just was quite fascinated by as well. So, anyway, the album I'm talking about, of course, which is going to appear up here in the top right hand corner of my screen, is Ride the Lightning from Metallica, released back in 1984. And the funny thing was, when I did eventually get this album, not until I was 18, right? This was when I was more into a sort of phase of going through lots of classic thrash metal and heavy metal bands. And when I eventually got this album, I listened to it all the way through. It was like instantaneous love. It was just in love with the album after my first listen. I already knew of For Whom the Bell Tolls a bit by that point. But when I was 18 and I finally was listen to this album in full, I was gobsmacked that I never had bought this album or never had got the album until this point of all this time. And yeah, Ride the Lightning. I mean, everyone knows, everyone that's a Metallica fan, whether or not you like their old stuff or maybe some of their newer stuff. I think that's a kind of minority these days of people that enjoy the sort of a lot of the newer Metallica stuff anyway, but they're kind of 80s quartet of albums, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice, are generally agreed by all of Metallica fans, I think, as just being classic thrash albums. And this one in particular is I was, maybe I often switch this with Master of Puppets as to which is my ultimate favourite Metallica album. But perhaps because of this being before I got Master of Puppets, I have a certain association with Ride the Lightning, which makes me really, really love it. And like I say, I mean, actually, I could have known about this album. I could have known about this album and heard it a lot sooner than I did, but it was just because I never bought it. And I think in life sometimes, at that point I didn't know the album. I didn't really wasn't aware of what I would have been getting into, but just that striking album cover art made me want to get the album. But had I done that and just gone with my gut, I would have realised I would have been, I think, really intrigued and gotten into Metallica and gotten into heavy metal probably sooner than before I got into the whole new metal stuff that was out a year or two later, or that I was getting into a year or two later. And there's one song on this album that really resonates with me, and it's more of the sort of ballad. It's "Fade to Black," which really just I mean, I just love the phases that track goes through with the introduction and the really nice kind of acousticy part, and then it goes into the heavy part. It gets more and more powerful as it goes on until the kind of really sort of melodramatic ends with Kirk's big solos. At the high part of the at the high part of the neck of the guitar, and it's just a great just a great album really. And yeah, it's just the album that had me curious a long time before I even heard it. So that's Ride the Lightning by Metallica for this week. Next time, I think I'm going to dare to do this. I mean, I mentioned that I would do this one in, I think, the preview of this series, and then I sort of had some second thoughts because I thought, how am I going to land this one with you all? But I'm doing the album that reminds me of a romance for episode 5 of the series, and I'll be doing that next week on Sunday. So do join me there for that one. Otherwise, from me, take care, everyone, and bye for now.